Meeting of the Town Council on February 6th to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
The flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. He did a Bill Boyd. Pulled a Bill Boyd.
Thank you very much. Apparently Peter is calling in from elsewhere. Peter, are you by yourself?
I am, yes.
Thank you. You're not being coerced by anybody?
No, I am not.
Thank you. Eileen is excused this evening. She's having car issues and was concerned about being able to get home after it got cold. And Paul is going to adequately fill in for her, I'm sure. Yes? Sure. Great, thank you. We have a relatively short agenda tonight. I don't have any announcements. Do you have any announcements,
No,
Paul?
I don't have any either.
Does anybody have any questions about the announcements? Seeing none. Comments from the press and public? Seeing none. New business. Ratification of collective bargaining agreements, New England Police Benevolent Association, NEPBA Local 12 and NEPBA Local 112, submitted by Town Manager Eileen Cabanel. Town Council to consider ratification of tentative collective bargaining agreements for NEPBA Local 12 and NEPBA Local 112. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. NEPBA Local 12 is for our police officers, detectives, and sergeants. We reached tentative agreement with the union on a 5-year contract from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2025. The rates would be 2% in 2021, 2% in 21-22, 2% in 22-23. In 23-24 and 24-25, they would be 3% each year. We've added with them is a shift differential, and they removed bid shift from the contract. They're going to go back to the way things used to be, where they do a rotation. And we gave them shift differential for second and third shifts. We deleted some language throughout the contract, cleaned it up, made sure that it was up to date and proper. In addition, we gave them agreed with that they could start using a flexible spending account again for $2,000 as long as present legislation allows it. Clothing allowance, we increased their clothing allowance by $200 due to the fact that uniforms for police officers are becoming very expensive to buy shirts and pants and things of that sort. So we increased that to $200. Cost of the contract in year 1 is $107,221. Estimated tax rate is a 3-cent increase on the tax rate. Year 2, it's $87,698. Year 3, it's $96,061. Year 4, it's $133,348, and in year 5, it's $164,351. Total contract cost is $588,679. Roughly on the 5-year average, it's 3 cents per year.
Are there any questions from the council?
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to move that the town council ratify the tentative agreement reached with NEPBA 12, police officers, detectives, and sergeants union, which includes a net cost of $107,221 in the first year, so that the tentative agreement may be put on the warrant for voter approval at the town meeting.
Moved by Nancy and seconded by Lon. Nancy, do you want to speak to it
I
at all?
think
or-
we've all heard the specifics about this. I think it's in line with the previous
Contracts.
unions and contracts that we've had. And I appreciate the union being cooperative and coming to this agreement now, and we're good for 5 years, so that would be great.
Okay. I just want to point out, I don't know if this sheet that you gave us is going to be going forward or anything, but there are a couple of typos on it, just because they look a little funky. In number 2, it talks about see number 4 below, which is apparently number 3 below. And then in number 3, it says see number 3 above, which is really number 2 above. I don't know what happened to one of the numbers. It's not there anymore. And then in 4E, the highlighted section about the FSA may be eliminated. It says have a financial impact to the town due to offering the FSA plan. I'm thinking it should be a financial impact on the town. It says that in both contracts, so you might be able to just, if that's what it's going to be worded on anything, a little bit easier to read. Any other comments or,
Good catch.
Does Peter have any questions?
Peter, do you have any comments?
Just that I'm very happy that both unions have signed this agreement. It's important, and that both of these very important organizations, our police officers and our dispatchers, get paid fairly, but also the town is covered as well. Thank you.
Okay. On the motion for NEPBA 12, let's call for a vote. All those in favor of the,
Roll call.
you're right, it
because-
does. Finley, how would you vote? Aye. Peter?
Aye.
Barb?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Tom, yes.
Yes.
Nancy, yes. Lon? Yes. So that passes 7-0-0 by roll call. Now we could pick up the NEPBA Local 112.
Yes, NEPPA Local 112 is our dispatchers and office staff at our police department. We've come to terms for a 4-year contract from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2024. First year of the contract is a 2% raise in 2021. 21-22 is 2%, 22-23 is 2%, and 23-24 is a 3% raise. We had a individual in this union that is moving within her scale. She's taken on more responsibility, and we've increased that position in the contract. She's staying within her pay scale. We're just moving her up $2,500 on the pay scale. We're allowing shift differential for what they call B and C shift, so second and third shift. We agreed to that, and once again, we added flexible spending account for this union. I would like to thank Sharon and my counterpart Eileen. During the negotiations, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and Sharon definitely kept myself and Eileen on track and made sure that everything, all the Ts were dotted and the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. So I want to thank them, as well as the people who negotiated these contracts in both the police and NEBABA 112's union. It was very civil, and it was made for an easy negotiation sessions where there wasn't a lot of angst and everything. They were professional and understood what was going on and brought us to where we are right now with these contracts.
Awesome.
Nice.
Do you want to talk about the cost factors or?
I can. The cost in the first year is $19,465 for approximately an estimated tax rate about less than 1%, right around 1%, 1 cent. 1 cent. I'm sorry about that. Year 2, $11,779. Year 3, $12,013. And year 4, $18,296. Total contract cost is $61,553. Roughly, a 4-year average is about a half a cent per year. And there is 11 bargaining members in this group.
Paul, the shift differential is listed as 0 for the ongoing years. Is that because it can't be understood in advance, or is it built into the wages?
Because it's a flat rate, and we're giving them a shift differential on a flat rate, in year 1 of the contracts is where the cost is, and then as we cost out the contracts, it's additional for each year. So in years 2 and 3, because the shift differential is not increasing, that's why it's 0 in the out years. Because the hours won't change. There's going to be so many hours in the second shift and so many hours in the third shift. We costed that out.
So it's just built into
the
their salary, if you
salary
will.
after that, yes.
Okay. It seems like there ought to be a cost increase from it, but I don't necessarily understand accounting, so we'll let it go at that. Does anybody else have any questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the town council ratify the tentative agreement reached with the NEPBA Local 112 Police Dispatchers and Support Staff Union, which includes a net cost of $19,465 in the first year, so that the tentative agreement may be put on the warrant for voter approval at the town meeting.
Second.
Motion is made by Bill and seconded by Barb. Is there any other comments? Do you want to add to that?
I concur with Assistant Town Manager McCally's comments regarding the comity, COMITY, that was extended between the police dispatchers and Eileen and Paul and Sharon. I certainly want to thank them for their good work. And I also echo Councilor Harrington's comments, as she alluded to, regarding the ratification of the NEPBA 12 contract. The one thing that I would add to both of these contracts, the 5 years with the police officers, a 4-year contract with the dispatchers, really allows this town to, with these fixed costs, we're going to be able to have a better understanding of how we're going to be managing our budgets over the next couple of years. So I think it's a really good thing. People that have been paying attention to the budget this year notice that we've had some challenges. So this is just one particular tool that Eileen and Paul and Sharon have worked at, so that, next budget cycle, there'll be a little bit more, I hate to use the word stability, it's the only word that comes to mind, but there's a little bit of stability as it relates to future budgets over the next 2 to 3 years. So I really appreciate the hard work by everybody, and thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I would add my thanks to the unions and staff for the work they did on bringing these together. I know it kind of came in as last minute. This is our last meeting that we can approve them, and I really appreciate the fact that everybody got together and made this happen. And thank you, Sharon. Do you have anything you want to add or comment about? Okay,
No, thank you. All set.
great, Paul, I appreciate it, or Peter, I appreciate it. We'll call for a vote then.
Roll call,
Finley?
Mr. Chairman. Also,
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
Barb?
Yes.
Bill?
aye.
Tom, yes. Nancy?
Yes.
Lon? That passes 7-0-0 by roll call.
Thank you very much.
Take long. You're supposed to announce your name.
Oh, you are? Well, now we all know.
Check it out.
I believe you.
Okay. Good, now that we're in order. So we'll move along. That was number 1. Number 2 is wastewater treatment facility Phase 4, bond financing presentation by Paul McCallie. Town council to be presented with the details of the bond financing for the wastewater treatment facility Phase 4, or 3.5, or whatever number you want to give it. Thank you.
Stage manager.
Our audience left.
presenter.
He does everything.
These extras.
As everyone's well aware, Sarita and Kyle Fox came before the council and explained what the upgrades were gonna be for Phase 4, 3.5, Phase 4 of the wastewater treatment. For those at home that are just catching this for the first time, this is the second half of the project that was discussed last year, where the town approved the $13.1 million upgrade to the pump stations. This addition in that we're talking about for $9,520,000 is ADA compliant at the facility, the Headworks building, and other minor improvements as they go forward. What I would like to do is, I know this is really small, and working with numbers and trying to do PowerPoint presentations and having so many years, 30 years, it gets kind of small. So I do want to apologize to the people at home for that. But last year with the $13.1 million bond, over 30 years, we got an interest rate at the time was 2.376%.
Quick question, Paul. This is going to be on the website as well, right?
Correct.
So for the public who can't obviously read this handout actually will be part of the minutes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. What I want to do is I just want to bring the attention that over 30 years, the total cost of the $13.1 million bond comes to $17,924,120 for the badly needed upgrade to the pump stations. As you'll see, the $9,520,000 bond, same 30-year period, the rates are at 2% now with State Revolving Fund, SRF. So the rates came down, and that was as of October 2019. They'll be that way for a full year until the following October 2020. So with that $9.5 million bond, same run out of 30 years, it's going to cost us $12,471,490. However, if this bond gets passed, we have an opportunity of blending the two bonds together for one bond. And by doing the $22,620,000 bond, the run out would be at 2%. So we'd gain the interest rate from 2.3 to 2%. One thing about SRF, which I had Sarita double check for me to make sure they still are doing it this way, is that if the rate at the time of disbursement is less than the rate in the loan agreement that was signed, the municipality will receive the lower of the two rates. However, if the rate is higher than when you sign, you'll receive the rate that you signed on. So right
still
now,
lower.
if we sign at 2, if it goes up to 5, we pay 2. So it's a good deal. If we combine the two together and blend them together, it's a savings to the town of almost $750,000 in interest payments. So it's a good deal going through SRF. We've used them specifically for wastewater. We always get a great rate with them. It's a it's a little different than a regular bond. It's more like a reimbursement, so we have to put the money out, and they reimburse us. So I request monthly, once the project gets going, we request monthly to the state, and within 15 days of requesting it, we get our money back. So, but it's based on that, and then there's a 1% administration fee of the total cost that gets rolled into the bond as well, for them being able to offer such great rates and offer a municipality $22,620,000 to do much-needed improvements. So
Okay.
it's still, we're looking at 30 years at 2% for the project.
Now, have we borrowed the first 13 million?
No, we have not borrowed the first 13 million. We have an agreement where after the ballot vote, we went up and signed paperwork with SRF for that $13.1 million. They broke it out in a couple of different sections because we knew we were going to have to do a lot of engineering work. So we asked for $1.5 million just for the engineering work to be done. I have not requested a reimbursement yet for any of that. I'm waiting for a little bit more money to come in to get it. It's right now the engineering work's probably around $50,000, and I'm trying to, get a bigger reimbursement back in because I know once I ask, we get locked in. So I'm trying not to ask for any money until I know that we are moving forward and this is a good rate. And I was going to try to wait till after April's vote to see if we're going to do both projects. Because if we do both projects, then we'll get the second bond paperwork, and then I'll ask, and then we'll be locked in.
Let's phrase that differently. We have to do both projects.
Yes,
because
we have
to upgrade the wastewater system
Correct.
in order to hit our permits. And that's where we've been kind of nervous last year, trying to ask for 22 million in one shot.
All right.
It just seemed like a very difficult thing to do. And so financing-wise, it seemed like we could spread out the increases in the rates a little bit. We could
Right.
do some other things by realizing that we didn't need all the money up front. It turns out it saved us a couple $100,000 or something like that in the lifetime of the loan by getting a lower interest rate, which is great for us. But we still need to get this one approved as well.
Yes, this is a much-needed project. It's the Headworks building. It's our clarifiers. It's that demonstration
Oh, yeah.
speaks a million words, you know, with the flushable wipe that's been now a year and it's not even thinking about disintegrating. Those all come to the plant right away and get stuck in our Headworks building, get stuck in our clarifiers. We have to have guys go in and clean that stuff out. And with these upgrades, it'll be a lot easier for that process to happen, as well as not clog up the work, so to speak. And we're putting in technology to help alleviate some of those problems of plugs and things of that sort that go along with it. As well as the building was built in the 1970s and it is not ADA compliant at all. You know, if somebody has trouble climbing stairs, they can't get up to do any business with the staff, because the staff is technically on the second floor of the building. So they, you know, we make accommodations and come down, but it'd be nice to actually be able to have these people go up in the building and be able to interact where they're supposed to be interacting than employees going down and seeing if what they need versus and trying to make a determination and then running back and forth. This way they could do it all where they normally conduct their business up there. So those are the big deals, but you know, the bonds are definitely needed. The $22.6 million is the combination of the two. I do want to say that we have run out the debt schedule. We've run out the increases. We've talked about that. You know, we're in a 12% increase was this year. Next year, there's no increase on the rates. And then the following year, we talked about another 12% increase on the rates. So with these numbers and where we're standing right now, we're still at that 12% increase going forward. So things are still moving forward as planned. We're not seeing any other increases because of this $22 million. It's been planned for. It's needed. So.
Yep. One other question, and maybe it's the way they structure it and how they keep the rate low, is according to this chart, there's an interest rate or an interest amount due each month, each year.
Right.
But that would be calculated on the full amount? Are these interest charges based on the full amount and we don't get anything back until we've spent it already, so it's all reimbursed?
It's all reimbursed. The interest amount is based on 1 year after substantial completion. So if the project costs us $22,620,000, if we complete it, say, January 1st, 2020, we don't see a bill from SRF until January 1st, 2021.
Okay,
So-
so until we've spent all
so
the money,
all
we're
the
not
money.
actually going
We-
to
we
get
don't-
charged any interest?
We don't get charged any interest, and it's based on the principal balance. The
Well, that's
interest
pretty
rates,
cool.
you know, as you go down, as it's like a declining principal, sort of like with a mortgage, or, you know, when you're paying off a car, you know, you start paying, most of your payment goes to interest, and by the end, you're paying mostly principal, so. But this is the same way.
Okay, and as you said, we don't get locked into the rate until we actually borrow or get reimbursed the first amount.
Get reimbursed.
That locks the rate, but then you don't get charged until a year after substantial completion,
Right,
which is
right. Which,
kind of a nice feature.
right, and in a project like this, with the two projects, they're gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be a 3-month construction period. They're gonna be extended construction periods, 9, 12 months, so it's nice that when you got an
Yeah.
extra 12 months to realize it, and they do it that way because of, so people can budget and get it in through the warrants and things of that sort during their budget process, so they're not being surprised.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions? I was kind of hogging the questions there, sorry. Nobody? Pardon? Peter, do you have any questions on the bond?
No, I just want to say thanks to Paul and his staff for the good work on research on this, especially combining the two if, you know, when we do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need to take any kind of vote on this, or you just
No,
presenting
it was
it to us?
it was an informational, because we didn't talk about it when we were discussing the bond
Right.
and things, so I wanted to bring it to the council's attention as well as the public's attention, that that's actually what, there's financing behind it. We're not just gonna throw a number out there. There's actually financing behind it.
Okay, great. And beneficial,
Yes.
at least in the way it's working out, so that's awesome. Any other comments?
I don't have really a question, but it's sort of a attached response I want from everyone. Last year, when Sarita and Kyle did their road show, and they went around to talk about the initial loan, I also went with them and presented the budget. And I thought that was advantageous because it really was just, one, answered questions, but two, it really provided an opportunity to help explain those large expenditures, especially capital reserves, which we're going to talk about later. But I told them they had invited me again, but I didn't want to do it without the council's agreement. So I thought I'd bring it up since we're talking about this.
It's a
Unless
good
someone
idea
wants to
bring it
do
up,
the
and I
roadshow.
think that's great that you're willing to do that.
Actually, it was
Anybody
kind
else
of
have
fun.
comments?
Depending upon what we decide soon, too, in terms of the capital reserves. Remember, last year, there were a bunch of warrant articles, and it was important to be able to explain that. But there are some big ticket items that we need to explain in this budget, too, and I think it really helped. So, if it's okay with everyone. Peter, does it sound okay to you?
I have no problem with that, Nancy. I think it's a good idea if I heard what I heard correctly.
She's going to go around and help
You're
present.
going to give me a pay raise, right?
Wow.
Wow,
Humor.
yeah. Just kidding.
Okay. So, moving along, item 3, I think it is on our agenda, capital reserve withdrawal discussion submitted by Finance Director, Assistant Town Manager Paul McCallie. Town Council to receive an update regarding a discussion that took place with the DRA, Department of Revenue Administration, about capital reserve fund expenditures as they relate to the upcoming budget. You moved.
Moved. Thank you again.
You're up.
Seems like it's my show tonight.
It is.
During the budget process, I mentioned that I was going to call the DRA, and there's been a lot of changes with the law and how things are needs to be presented and in the budget and about capital reserve funds. So I was actually trying to get an appointment up there, and their contact was on vacation, and it's funny because she sent me this cryptic message back that she was out until December 6th. So I called up somebody else I knew up there, and I said, hey, what's going on? Could you help me out? And we talked, and this lady is very well respected up in the DRA, and I respect her opinion. And so when we were talking, I started talking to her about capital reserve funds and in general, and I understand that deposits have to go on a separate warrant article, and I get that. But as the councils, as agents to expend, you're telling me that they can't be in the budget they can't be in the budget as the budget number that we provide on our warrant. And we talked a little bit back and forth, and she said, Paul, you have two options, honestly. You told me they're agents to expend for everything? I said, yeah. She said, okay, there's option 1. You can do it as a separate warrant article or several warrant articles to take the money out of the capital reserve fund that we've been saving for. Or because they're agents to expend, they can do it off budget, like we used to do 10 or so years ago, where people would come in and say, hey, I need to buy a new fire truck, and we'd have a meeting in the council, or at that time the Board of Selectmen would approve the purchase. And then we go out and buy the fire truck or the dump truck or the loader or whatever we needed. So what she said is that those are your two options of how the council wants to proceed. I like option 2 personally. And I could tell you that it won't be like it was years ago, where we're going to parade people up, 1, 2, 3, all throughout the summer or whatever. We'd set up a meeting that, we're still going to go through the budget process. We're going to still tell the council and the town what we're planning on purchasing out of the capital reserve funds. What we're still planning on out of the capital reserve funds. However, we're going to hold a meeting, and then the council can approve those in a regular council meeting. And we talked about dollar volume and magnitude of dollars, well, if we do this. And she said, the law only states that you need to hold a public meeting. I said, well, are you gonna slap my hand if I wanna hold a public hearing on some of these things, like a $600,000 fire truck? And she said, no, it's up to your town how you wanna handle these withdrawals coming out. If you wanna do a public hearing, that's fine. If you wanna just do it in a regular agenda council meeting, that's fine. The other reason why I like option 2 is because of the way we had to change our deposits into capital reserve funds. As you all know, last year, that's a separate warrant article. We have spent down our capital reserve funds over the years where there are some that sometimes the money that's being deposited in the capital reserve funds, we need that little extra bit of money so that we can do a project. In this case, we'll have the vote of the people at the time, yay or nay, on those capital reserve funds, and then we'd know if there's enough money in the capital reserve funds with that deposit to do the purchase. And if it's not there, they don't get it. We don't do it. We don't ask for it, to be quite honest with you. Or we go back to the drawing board if we so desire. So, but that's what I kind of like to do. The reason why I'm coming for you tonight and not on the 13th is because it makes a difference with the warrant of about $2 million is what we were withdrawing.
So I was just going to ask, it sounds like either way, the capital reserve funds need to come out of the operating budget,
Correct.
and, or at least that line that would be on the warrant article. So that's the 2 million or whatever number. They might be further down the ballot on a long sheet because of all the extra stuff we'd have to put on there
Right.
to give us the opportunity to spend it, but the town's already given us the opportunity to spend that
Correct.
when we develop and set those. So I'm all for the second option as well. Going back, I realized we went away from that because we were trying to be upfront and open with everybody about exactly what we're doing and where we're going and how we're spending the money and all that kind of stuff. And there were some concerns about some financial number counting and stuff, whether we accounted for everything correctly. But I think we have the experience and the knowledge to handle that now. And that would be my recommendation, is we go with the second option. Nancy, did you have, okay, well, I'm done.
Okay, I agree with you.
Oh,
The only
okay.
suggestion I would make is we would have a public hearing. I think, again, it's just for transparency.
For expenditures.
Do we don't,
yeah.
yes, we don't need to, but I think making it a public hearing, that even could happen during a town council meeting, but having a public hearing to specifically designate what those capital reserve fund expenditures are going to be, and make sure that the public knows about it at that time, so they can come and express their opinion. Again, is it more than we need to do? Yeah, but I don't think it's so much out of the way.
Well, I would agree it's a great
accomplish.
idea, especially for something like a fire truck. I'm thinking that maybe there is a dollar figure we could put on it, like the minor and the major capital,
Okay.
CIP programs, whether it's something on that order. But I don't know that we need to decide that right now.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Barb?
Yeah, just two questions. So the money from the warrant articles going into the account, the CRF, and the money coming out, all of that would be a separate accounting now?
No,
No.
the money going in will still be voted
Still
on
be
by
on
the
the-
public
okay.
because RSA 35 states that any money being deposited into a capital reserve fund has to
Has to be
be
through the budget.
approved by the voting public.
So what will be your budgetary process for tracking the expenditures?
When there's a couple of things that I was thinking of, sorry. We come in front of the council with our capital reserve CIP plan. That's where I basically pull for the budget.
Mhm.
So we'd still be with the CIP. We'd still present, these are what we're planning on doing for capital during the budget process. When we hold the meeting to take the money out of the capital reserve, there's a specific vote that needs to happen where, to expend, raise and appropriate the sum of X dollars for a specific purpose. Once the council does that, it gives me the authority to put it into the budget, and I'll track it that way. So it will still be tracked in the budget overall at the end of, if we were doing it this year, it'd be tracked at the end for June 30th, 2020, or 21 or 22. It'll be tracked as an expenditure the way we do it now.
Okay. And my second question, do we need to clearly define what the process is going to be for this? Do we need to make any changes to the way the code or the charters are written to allow for this?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Doesn't sound like it, not from what you were told or what you
Yeah.
related to us.
Okay,
But if we do, if we need to change a process, we'll,
yeah.
Peter, did you have any questions?
Yes, so we're going to move away from each capital reserve being a warrant article item, is that correct?
No. There's still, to put money in the capital reserve, there's gonna be a warrant article for each one. But rather than us having it in the budget as an expenditure from capital reserve, we're gonna pull it out of the budget and we'll just do it at a council meeting, maybe with a public hearing, depending upon the amount. Because we are agents to expend already, it really doesn't require that we go before the public again and say, I know you told us we could do this, but can we do this? And so, rather than, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that if we put it on like option one, we're just gonna double the length of the ballot for warrant article options. And everybody, I think, knows that when people get towards the end of a lengthy ballot, they're not paying a lot of attention to it anymore, or tend to say no. And so I'm trying to keep the warrant at a reasonable length if we can, avoid getting too wordy, is the other reason.
Yeah, and Tom, I agree with you 100%. I guess I also kind of reiterate Nancy's thoughts of, the importance of transparency and again, because I'm on the phone here, but I guess creating a schedule of what we're looking at to expend, if I heard this correctly, and publicly notifying everybody, giving them a good chance to voice their opinion on each of these items, that would be great.
And I think we do that today anyway, because we always have, hearings and discussions about whether we're gonna buy a fire truck or buy a dump truck and things of that nature, from our capital reserves. The budget, the way it's written today, has each one of the capital reserve expenditures listed in it, but
Right.
those are gonna get pulled out and will be presented maybe separately, but at the same time, at budget time, we'll still get a list of expected
Right.
capital reserve expenditures. So
Correct.
we'll get all that outlined, and then when we actually go to pull the funds to make that acquisition, I'm sure we'll have either an agenda item if it's a relatively small, like a computer for the GIS system,
Yeah.
or, a public hearing if it's something large, because public hearings do have an additional cost in advertising and things of that nature, so. But
Yeah.
definitely want to do that to keep the transparency open.
In light of everything I've heard, I guess I'm in favor of option 2.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Finley's being quiet. Do you want us to vote on?
a motion would be great, thank you.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Finley to go with option 2, and seconded by Nancy. Do you want to speak to your motion now, Finley?
I think it's definitely the way to do it, find a threshold that we would have a public hearing. Public hearings be straightforward. It's not much more than an agenda item, but it just notifies the public specifically, and it would just be, mostly, I think, to let people know.
You have your mic on?
I don't, I was using Peter's. I apologize. So anyhow, thanks, Peter.
You're pushing him out of the way.
So,
Okay.
yeah, no, and I find that this option B will be much more convenient and, a nice workable way of going about it.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll call, Bill?
I'm probably going to be the only one in opposition to it, only for the simple fact that, and I appreciate the work that you've done, Paul, and I don't necessarily disagree with the thought process. I think to go right into option 2 without providing a level of education to the community, that's how I'm looking at it. I would have preferred option 1 for this year, and to have the conversation with the community going into next year's budget I think that's a more palatable approach to dealing with this. I think with some of the comments that have been made regarding option two, I absolutely do not disagree with them. I just feel that maybe we're rushing just a little bit going into option two. So based on the foregoing, that's why I'll be opposing the motion, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, Lon?
I don't believe rushing is the correct term. I do believe that we should be prudently quick, because my experience over a long time with several different boards is that from DRA, you can get a different interpretation any given week.
Disagree on that.
Thank you. So there's a motion to go with the option B, or option two, which is to pull the capital reserve fund expenditures out of the budget line item and just carry those out throughout the year with the council as agents to expend, which we already are, and decide it probably with a public hearing for any major items, or definitely with a public hearing for any major items, and we'll decide on an as-needed basis for minor items. All those in favor signify by roll call vote. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Seeing no complaints. Finley?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Barbara?
Yes.
Bill?
Nay.
Tom, yes. Nancy?
Harrington, yes.
Would Jay?
That passes 6-1-0 with Bill Boyd in opposition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which I think brings us to the end of our agenda. Comments from the press?
I'd like to
Comments-
make a motion that all town council meetings be this long.
Seconded.
Can you wait till we do comments from the council? Comments from the public, come on up.
You gotta turn the mic on.
Hello.
Hi, and if you could go ahead and
Hello.
give us your name and address.
Yep. My name is Charles LaFond, 7 Linden Way, Merrimack, New Hampshire. I've been here a couple times before, never on this one subject. I've discussed this subject, though, with certain members that I see here and one that isn't here. And quite frankly, I'm going to move it into this state only because I've been told that as a taxpayer and a resident in this town, for me to move it further requires this. I have to come and stand before you and request an investigation into the death of my daughter. From what I understand, it's a policy of some that if there is an IV fentanyl drug death in this town, it is not investigated, period. End of statement. Police are at your house. That's it. Call the crime. Everybody get out. Just so happened the guy that was at my house that night was the guy that I am 100% positive brought the stuff up from Massachusetts, delivered it into her body, killed her, and then I have some that would allege was driven home by the Merrimack police. Not driven home, I'm sorry. He was driven to the Bedford VA hospital facility in Bedford, Massachusetts, where, from what I understand, and I'm just going off of the investigation that was given to me by lay people, he was thrown out of the facility for consuming narcotics on that very day. Over the year that my daughter's been dead, I've had people in this town tell me that I've been under some sort of a delusional aspect, some sort of thing on fentanyl, some sort of mourning thing, some sort of mental illness. It's called grief. And what really affects your grief worse than anything, especially when you lose your child before you really should have lost your child, is when other people like the police or even your town government officials coulda, shoulda, woulda done something. that year probably would have been a little better. And I'll never get that year back. But I'll tell you what, the grind that's going through me right now, I heard you guys just now talk about the collective agreement with the police. I've been over there and I've told them. And I've told them how mad I am. See, I believe in talking to a person eye to eye. Although some people say, oh, well, you've been Facebooking, you've been doing this, you've been doing that. No. I talk to a person eye to eye. So I will tell you that on the night that my daughter died, I can tell you which officer called it, when he called it, and I can also tell you that one of the people that I really most like to have a talk with you and him and a few other people, is a guy by the name
No,
of
you
Brian.
can't. That's
let's not-
protected. He's an employee of the community.
Okay.
We don't talk about employees in the community.
Okay, I
In a
won't talk,
public setting,
I
sir.
won't talk about employee of the community.
I've already talked to him about that. Go ahead, you want to finish your,
Yeah. So, what my thought is that it's a very intolerable condition. So, I've already been told by several people in this town. I've lived here for over 30 years, as you know. Some of you know. The only way to change is from the inside. Okay? So, whatever that takes, whether it's coming to every single town meeting for the rest of my life, joining you guys, getting up on that board, getting in there and effectively changing what's going on across the street, okay? But I'm going to change something because I sat back and I asked others to do their job. I did. And I know that some of you probably even heard about this, knew about this. And it would have been nice if you'd just gone over there and said, hey, could you just do something? Anyways. So I'm just gonna say that I really wished somebody would have done something. I really wish somebody would do something. Oh, and the last thing to make a mention of, I had been asking for an investigative report since October of 2019. I didn't get that investigative report. That was something that the Attorney General asked me to get from the police department. Instead of an investigative report, I got a letter dated December 10th that came to my house on the 14th. Strange letter, very strange letter, because I got a call from a woman who claimed to be the office manager. And she didn't write this letter. This letter was written by another person who claims to be a prosecutor. When my wife called about this letter, this person told her that he had no knowledge of the case. He had never, ever reviewed the matter. He had been cornered and told by the police department to close this case immediately. Immediately. And then this letter was sent to me. As I said, received on December 14th. And I don't know, do you know how close that is? That's 10 days before Christmas. Do you know how many town offices are open and how long you're open? I got that thing just in time for Christmas. That's one more. I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you. Anyways, I'll be back. I have a very long presentation I would like to do sometime on fentanyl, the problem in this town, the problem in this state. And I think we could get it resolved fairly quickly. We could get on a plan to possibly help eliminate or at least minimize some of the damage that we're having in this town. But up until now, I've been told to keep my mouth shut. Okay? And I won't tell you because it was a town employee that told me that. Okay? A department head. Thank you.
Mr. LaFawn,
For
thank
being
you.
courteous.
As we've talked about in the past, I think your avenue is through the Attorney General's office to get an investigation. We can't go talk to the police department directly because they're not our employees. We only have one employee.
I'm afraid the the way that this town government originally broke out, the town manager's office, the police chief basically reported that was through that. And if there was something going on, the town manager's office took care of it. And if it couldn't be taken care of, the town manager got taken care of. Okay, I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying, that's the way it used to be. Today, I understand. It's different. Like, they can build hotels wherever they want. They can do whatever they want. They can crack through the ridge line over by the middle school. And I'm telling you right now, within 2 years, you're gonna have a flooding situation over there. I predicted the flooding situation when they cracked Conservation's Ridge. You guys cracked a ridge. You cracked it really good over on Old Wilson Hill Road. And I'm telling you, it's gonna be like a flood coming up that plain, going right to Babusick Lake. And it'll probably happen in a couple of years when we have a decent snow and a decent rain and the river backs up. But just FYI.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comments from the council? Seeing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor signify by roll call. Finley?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
Barbara?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Tom, yes.
Harrington, yes.
That passes 7-0-0. We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Please turn off your mics.